All right, and we're live. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Today, I'm talking with my friend Demi, also known as Anti-Ordinary. Is that how you pronounce your actual, or is it Demi or Demi, or how do you like it?
Yeah, it's Demi. Yeah, I've never met someone that's pronounced Demi. Someone thought it was short. Someone thought my dead name, that's a word trans people use. Someone thought my dead name was Dimitri. And I'll
really?
tell you, no, it was never Dimitri. My name was never Dimitri.
So you prefer, I guess, Demi is fine then. Okay.
Yeah, whatever is easiest.
Okay. Well, that's 4 letters, so that's not too bad at all. It's pretty easy, actually.
It's less than anti-ordinary every time.
Yeah. But I quite like the name Anti-Ordinary. I thought that was rather clever when I first saw it, which was literally over a year ago now. Easy, probably more. And I stopped almost instantaneously when I saw the first couple of your videos, especially the one you did with Richard Carrier, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite videos on my channel, not just for me, but my viewers as well, apparently. So yeah, you don't get a chance to interview Richard Carrier very often. So I took that and I was on a break, but we had that scheduled long in advance.
Yeah, that was a really good conversation that you had with him too. I was pretty much intrigued and glued to the screen the entire time. So
thank you.
Yeah, I definitely, you got a thumbs up from me there too, and I encouraged others to do the same thing for that one. Basically, you know what I do here. We talk about deconversions, and also we'll touch a little bit on the challenges that you're faced being a trans person as well. So why don't you take us sort of back to kind of when you first started realizing that religion was nonsense and stuff like that, and we'll just move from there forward. And I might jump in from time to time, because, you know, I'm that kind of
guy. Feel free, it's your channel and it's a discussion after all. So I don't know if we have time to go through how stupid I was for how long I was, because it was a long process. I was so many different religions in order. I was a Christian, a Catholic, and then a Muslim, and then a pagan, and then a spiritual weirdo. And then
spiritual,
out there, man. I'm out there. Okay, I don't conform to your. Oh, I'm too high. What's the name? Your organized.
Your ideology?
I don't conform to your organized religion. I'm above that. I have a direct connection to God. Okay, that kind of bullshit.
He comes and hangs out on you on Saturday nights and stuff, right?
Yeah, we used to talk, drink together. You know, smoke some weed, the casual stuff.
See, I knew God was a weed smoker.
He made it, of course.
He's like, what do you think I put it there for, people? Enjoy.
So I don't know, like for a lot, I went through all of that, and I at no point really thought it was bullshit. I always thought there has to be something out there, because it still doesn't make sense to me. I'm not even going to pretend it does. How everything came from nothing, even in science, makes no sense from me. And I know technically everything did not come from nothing, and I'm not giving the religious ammunition. But for my little human monkey brain to understand, the numbers and everything you're trying to describe to people were just essentially nothing, right? Everything came from a space that was so small that it was essentially nothing. And I'm still just as confused about it all, but I think that's one of the reasons. It's like, we're all here. I'm here. Everyone believes in something, at least. So that must mean there has to be something out there going on, right? And that's why I went through so many different beliefs, because it wasn't like, oh, this is clearly bullshit, so God is bullshit. It was, this is bullshit, but someone has to be right?
Yes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that what that was right either.
Yeah, none of them were right either, in my opinion.
And I'd agree. And circle gets a square, if you guys are familiar with the reference.
No, I'm not, but
Hollywood Squares, it was a game. TV game.
Oh, okay. No, sorry.
That sort of dates me. Because I remember way back in the day when Paul Lynde was the center square for that fucking show. So
I know the meme.
Yeah.
So I'm aging myself, but that's fine.
I can't hide my age anymore, man. It's all white and gray, and I used to dye
If
this
you've gone
shit.
regal, it's regal, I think.
Regal, I like that actually. That works for me.
Um,
Regal.
so, like, it wasn't. I remember my first experience with atheism was on YouTube. And I think that's probably why I make videos now, because watching all of those atheist YouTubers, I started getting suggested the original stupidity instead of the response to it. And I'm watching it like firsthand, the video, and I'm thinking all these stupid things. So I'm then making a video. And I happen to become a YouTube atheist, kind of, okay. And
it was mixed in there.
It's mixed in there, and that was weird because I've always, that's what prevented me from being an atheist for so long, was the atheist YouTubers I came across. Just the one, I'm not going to name drop anyone I have in the past, and that probably wasn't cool, and I'm not going to do that this time, but I would come across certain atheist YouTubers that are probably not the best representation of atheist YouTubers anyway. And I'd be like, oh my God, fuck that guy. If this is atheism, I don't want to do that shit. Fuck that shit. I'll just be my, I don't know. You believe what you want to believe. I don't know. I don't know. Even though by that stage I was an atheist, I just wasn't ready to kind of accept the label because of the stereotype or the stigma I personally had about it. But that took a long time, and that was kind of, I had a discussion with an atheist on Twitter, and we went through literally everything I believed. And I was like, so why don't you consider yourself an atheist? And I was just like, yeah, why don't I consider myself an atheist? And then ever since then, I was like, well, it fits me, right? So I think it was kind of a weird journey, right? When I was a Christian, I was never really religious because I was a child, but I went to a religious school. We had to go sit in church and everything. It was so terrible.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I had to too, but not.
And it was always freezing. They don't have central heating in old British churches, so it was always freezing.
We had to get some witches to burn, I guess, just to keep going up there.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't have outlawed it then because I was cold. So I listened to what the dude was. I didn't even really listen, to be honest. I just sat there cold thinking, can we go back into school? Like, what kid is thinking that? That's how bad religion is. That kids want to leave religion to go to school. No one wants to go to the school. So it's, okay, I don't know.
That's how bad it was, I guess.
It was so bad. But it was like, when I say so bad, it's like you're just a kid that's being forced to sit in an uncomfortable chair for half hour and listen to a boring guy talk about shit that you not even understand, so that you don't even understand. And then I went through a lot of traumatic experiences as a child, even before that point that we're talking about. But as I started to mature, I started to have a sense of self and an ability to reason with like why certain things had happened, if it was acceptable or not, and all those kinds of things. It kind of brought up questions about, well, what justifies something? And then people believed you went to heaven. So I'm kind of like, okay, then I went through all this, but it kind of doesn't matter because I'm going to heaven after, right? And I think for a long time, it was denying the trauma I had gone through as a young person to, and the way I would deny that is to be like, oh yeah, but it doesn't really matter because it's God's plan or karma. I deserved it. I have a video on my channel, and I genuinely, for the longest time as a child, believed that all of the trauma and the negative experiences I had gone through was a result of me being like Hitler in my past life. Like, I'm not even kidding. I thought I must have been some really ridiculously bad person in my past life.
Yeah, I don't know about Hitler though.
Yeah, it was a stupid kid, but still, So I just no, in my mind it was like, yeah, I could have been Hitler, and now I'm going to live like 700 lives of really, really shitty things, and this is just one of them. But
I wonder if they get progressively worse.
oh God, who fucking knows? Well, I know they don't. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's religion, not just on the grand scale of systematic abuse of religion. I think religion, even on a personal scale for a kid, like there was a child, I was in care. I was a child in care. And there was another person, and that person was really bad at something at school. I can't remember at this moment what it was. And it essentially just never cared and never really actually tried to do it because he got told by his dad that he must have been a really horrible maths teacher or some shit like in his past life. And it's like that the fact that a belief system can impede you in trying to achieve your goals or bettering yourself because you think there isn't no realistic way to do that, then to me it's just rational to say we shouldn't allow children at least to be following that philosophy. But that's
I would agree.
A whole other discussion.
No, I actually absolutely agree with you, and I think that before the age of 5, children shouldn't be told anything about this sort of stuff. And when they reach sort of an age where they can be a little bit more reasonable about what they're thinking, then they can look at all of the different options and choose for themselves. So I think that's a little bit more fair.
So, like, I think because of media, TV, and all that stuff, I picked up karma. And that's why when I went through Christianity and Catholicism, it was kind of like, okay, it's easy to make the move. Well, it was easy to make the move to Islam because the karma thing to me was like an out there idea. Whenever I heard about it, it was always from like hippies or something. But it was something I like kind of agreed with, like just in a, like now I have a logical, realistic rationality for why I believe in a certain form of karma. But then it was just like, the universal snake bullshit. I don't know.
What the hell is that?
So when
you mean like an Ouroboros? Or?
When I moved into it heavily, because I was in care, I moved like 40 or 50 times between like 12, 13 to 16. And
wow.
Yeah, wow.
I know it's putting it mildly, but still, I mean, I've moved a lot, but that's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm saying that to just prevent going into a whole long thing about moving so many times. And so in one of those moves, I moved to a heavily Muslim populated area in London. And when I was learning about it from the other Muslims surrounding me, we're not at that stage yet, demi spoilers. But I would pretty much hear their stories and I'm like, isn't that the Bible? Like genuinely, I would sit there and think that sounds like the Bible with a different character. Like I've heard this story. I'm pretty sure I heard this story growing up. So because of that, and because so many people believed it, I thought, okay, well, I'll explore that. And because I was young and I would just throw myself into everything head first, it was like, oh, I'm going to learn about Islam. Oh, I'm a Muslim next day. So
easily influenced, huh?
Yeah. Well, it was more like, I would say, desperate at the time. It was like, I just want to find what it is. Like, imagine if you could figure out what it is, the God of the universe, and you can just be like, dude, can we just chill out a little bit? Is that cool? Right? That's kind of my mentality. Just ask God to chill the fuck out. And because I was like surrounded by all the Muslims. It was like I got kind of swept up in the learning part of Islam. So I was a Muslim for quite a while because I wasn't really. It was more your mind, instead of rationalizing these ideas, my mind was distracted by actually learning them in the first place. So it's like, while I'm learning about different concepts about why X is bad, I'm not really thinking, yeah, but what justifies that in my head? I'm not being skeptical. I'm just like, oh yeah, well, X is bad. And then some more traumatic shit happened, and I got a train, bunked a train because I'm a fucking thug life, do the meme. And I bunked a train to Scotland because I was like, fuck this shit. And I went and lived with my mum until I was 16. And I think I was 15 at the time, turning 16 not long. And because I'm living in Scotland, in Aberdeen, there isn't many Muslim people in Aberdeen. I'm not surrounded by the ideology or the people anymore. And so I don't have an easy access to learning all the stuff I'm curious about. So I would go and look online and things, and I would find conflicting ideas, not necessarily atheistic ones, but like spiritual ones and things like that. That kind of made sense to me. Made no real sense to me, but it's like, oh, that sounds nice, doesn't it? The earth is a person, kind of like a spirit entity, and we got to look after her. We got to be nice and keep the planet. And I'm like, super fucking full blown hippie at the time, right? So whole
more like the Gaia thing.
Yeah. So like I was a what was the name of that shit again? Wiccan. That was it. I was a Wiccan.
Me too.
Oh yeah. I used to cast fucking circles and shit and do spells and shit. Oh god, I was so cool.
Yeah, we both were. I was doing the same shit. Same fucking shit.
Well, it got me out of the house. I used to go into the forest and shit to find sticks to use as wands and stuff. So
I actually had a wand that I made, a wand with a crystal on it and everything.
Oh, look at you. I never had the skills. I would just find a stick out in the woods and like trim it down and make it look nice.
Yeah.
But that was good. That was good because like in the philosophy of Wicca and shit, it was like, oh, you're taking from Earth and it's already dead and it's on all kinds of bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
But like Wicca itself isn't even just, we're talking about it like Wicca's a universe. It's kind of like Hinduism, isn't it? Like Hinduism is an organized religion, but almost all of them believe in different shit. So it's kind of like, okay, how organized is it?
There are 33 core gods, I think. Core gods in Hinduism. Something like this, 30-something anyways. And a lot of them can believe in specific different deities like Hanuman or Vishnu or whatever.
Yeah. And so even within Wicca, there's so many different forms of it. But I just kind of liked it because I was taking so many drugs, okay? And I was just... And I smoke weed, all right? I take the average boring drugs now, but I was taking more eccentric drugs at that time. And like, it's music festivals. It was summer. I was feeling good. I was young, okay? So that's just what it was. And I think like you go into an altered mind state, don't you? Where you kind of feel with some drugs, of course, and don't do drugs, people. Like,
yeah, well, there's some I advocate for, some I don't.
Yeah, I'm just blanket statement. Take all drugs. They're fun.
You can choose the ones you like, kids.
It's a pick and mix. One day we'll go into Tesco's or Walmart and they'll have a pick and mix of different drugs.
A bulk drug section. Just write the number on the tag and take it up to the till.
Wait. Yeah. So yeah, because I was in that altered mind state for quite a lot, working through some stuff. I didn't realize it at the time, but clearly I was. And like, I don't know, when you go to festivals and stuff and everyone else is like in an altered mind state is a nice way to put it. There's a lot of people talking about crazy fucking out there radical shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not radical as in it's going to hurt anyone. It's not. It's like the flat earth isn't radical, right? Because it's not going to hurt anyone. It's just really stupid. No one's actually going to fall off the flat earth trying to find the edge or anything. So
I just can't wait for them to get to that ice wall and go, fuck, now what do we do?
I just hope there's a too obscure joke. I'll throw that in the bin.
I like obscure jokes. Those are the best ones.
Have you seen Ice Age?
Yes, of course.
Do you know the squirrel from Ice Age? Yeah, I was thinking they'll bring one of those squirrels to break it open and escape the flat earth.
Yeah, just jamming his acorn in there and crack the whole eyeball open.
So yeah, because you're hearing all of these crazy ideas, like I ignored most of them, but also I was in an altered mind state myself, so I'm more like receptive to some of them. And I heard everyone talking about nature worship and all that kind of shit. So like when I've gone home from the festival, I've gone and looked it up and stuff, and I found stuff online about it. And that was it pretty much. I was just like, oh, I like this. This sounds hippy-dippy, peaceful, love the world, love the planet, love people. That sounds lovely.
That's one of the biggest attractors to it, I think.
Right. And also, because it is like, it was a criticism earlier, but it's a positive now, because it's less organized, people are like less prone to do negative stuff. There is like a section of that belief system that have negative behaviors. But a lot of them are just like, oh, we don't have to follow you. We can follow what we feel is right. And I feel like at least they have that level of individuality in their belief.
Agreed.
It's still bullshit, but
but
you can't really organize you all to kill a certain group of people because half of you won't agree, right?
That's right. That's right. I never heard anyone talking about killing anyone when I was involved with that shit. So.
No, and I think that's why it was so long and I got so engrossed doing that, and I spent so much effort, and I still have books and shit about it, because it's like there was never really negative feedback from it, right? You never really got like someone saying it, like it was when you look back at it in hindsight, you see they're like vaguely like positivity clouding the negativity that they're really saying. Like they're saying, oh, you fucking, that's shit to do, but I'm gonna say it in a loving, oh my god, I love you, blah blah blah, but fuck you. So there is that, but it's still, it's like it's clouded in this air of positivity, so you're less likely to actually question what you're learning, because why do you need to question it? It's all just nice, it's not harming anyone, it's not doing anything. So until it starts negatively affecting you, it's like you're less likely to question it, or negatively affecting other people around me. And I had so many weird coincidences relating to that whole situation that it was like every time one of those coincidences would happen, it would confirm to me that I am casting spells out of my twig.
Out of a twig. It's a magic twig, come on.
It is. Expelliarmus.
Yeah. I wish I still had my wand. I gave it to another lady I know that was into that stuff once I sort of dropped out of it. So I said, there, you like this, you can have it. And she's like, oh, wow, that's cool. So
that's nice of you, though. Kind of not nice of you. You're an enabler.
I'm an enabler.
You're an enabler. How dare you? I just threw mine in the garbage. But I also kind of, as I was long past it at this point, but I'm throwing it away in the garbage, and I'm still hesitating because I'm like, this is important to me somewhere still. And then I was like, no, fuck it, and threw it in the bin.
Yeah. It's almost like quitting smoking.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. That's a really like condensed one. I was a Buddhist, but that would kind of just was for a brief period before I was pagan or Wiccan.
Some of their philosophies are quite similar, so it's not surprising.
I think that's why I was open to listening to the people at the festivals and stuff, the altered mind state people, is because a lot of it does share traits with Buddhist philosophy. So it's quite easy to just assimilate new knowledge into what you already know. It's kind of the same reason it was easier to become a Muslim after being a Christian, because you're just kind of assimilating new knowledge rather than starting from the base and a whole new religion.
Sure. Well, all the Abrahamic religions tie together anyways, with like a same sort of core central idea, and then they just take their own versions of it and run.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that when I was younger. You can just tell, right? When you've grown up hearing stories and then suddenly this thing that claims to be so different and have the answers the other one doesn't have is saying pretty much the same shit. Or like it's different in like very specific passages, other places, but it's like in reality, it's just a book. It's like an edited version of a book for different for different regions, right? So
yeah, I mean
that's why I got over them so quick.
I look at it as kind of like clothing that you put on, right? It just depends on how you want to wear it. It's basically the way I look at the differences between them. It's like different ways to fold it, different ways to wear it. So
I think one of the biggest turnoffs for me with every religion that I've ever participated in is the hypocrisy, right? I was a Muslim and we were at Mass, and this was Ramadan's. And when you go to the last Mass, well, it's not Mass, is you go for prayer 6 times a day or whatever it is. I think it was 6, but
5 times.
5 times. Did you just out Muslim me? Are you a racist?
I guess.
Yeah, okay, 5 times, Mr. Muslim.
I just know because I looked into it earlier today, actually.
Oh,
and I knew it years ago, because when I lived in Israel, in Jerusalem, the Muslims you'd hear their call to prayer 5 times a day. Right? So.
Yeah. Okay. So the level of Muslim density that was the area I was living in was you heard those sirens at the prayer time as well. Like, and it didn't really bother anyone because everyone else was kind of Muslim as well. So I'm guessing
it was expected.
Yeah, so, but anyway, it was Ramadan, and this is my first Ramadan, my only Ramadan. Okay, my actual, like, I had another one, but I gave up, and I quit Islam essentially halfway through the next Ramadan. That is so bad. I'm sorry. Okay, but I don't care. It's not real. I don't know why I still feel a little bit guilty. In the same way I felt a little. The same way I felt a little bit guilty about throwing my wand in the bin. I feel a little bit guilty, but yeah, that Ramadan, we come out from prayer, and all of these old Muslim men, because at this time I hadn't started transitioning and prayer is segregated, so I would walk out of the male side of the prayer hall, whatever it's called, and you'd have like 100 old Muslim men just light up cigarettes on the doorstep of the mosque, because after that, like a certain time when the sun sets, you're allowed to start engaging in smoking. Well, you're never really supposed to smoke, but you're encouraged to just not smoke during Ramadan, at least, like during that time.
I believe Islam is similar to Judaism, though, where their holidays start at sundown and end at sundown.
Yeah. As far as I remember, it was most things were measured by the sun and the moon.
Yeah.
So,
hence the lunar calendars and stuff. So
it was really like interesting. It was why I put myself through waking up at God knows what time all the fucking time to fucking pray. Who knows? But I went through some. But I don't know. I guess just so many times people claim or believe certain things, and I'm like, if God is real, right? If you believe your God is real specifically, how can you do that? Like, how can you do that? I always had doubts, right? So I'm still smoking at this young age, but like I'm here, like I believe, but I kind of don't believe, you know. And I know this cigarette is here, so I'm gonna smoke it. That's the deal. But like I still, it was just, to me, it was kind of like, that's the thing. If you're, because I was never like, I know there's a God. I was always kind of like, I believe in this thing.
Sure.
And I know some people will argue that like believing something is to say you know it, but I don't know. I guess in my mind it was like,
No.
no, I
Knowledge
don't.
is a subset of belief. So
I just think I kind of had that part of me that was like, this all could be bullshit. And that's why I swapped between them. And that's why I wasn't quitting smoking, because of this fad religion I was in. But I just felt like you all say, you know, Allah is real, and you're all smoking on the doorstep. It's like, bitch. I had shame, right? I don't anymore. Everyone knows that. But I had shame at one point in my life. It's crazy, I know. And so when I walked out of the mosque at Ramadan, I'm like, here, like, let me try get halfway home and then I'll light a fag. I won't see most people. It's fine. Everyone's lighting their cigarettes as they walk out the door. And I'm just like, oh my God, how? You're all so brave. Smoke one for me.
Yeah, you think, what, do you think he's not watching?
Yeah, so that was like a condensed version of my craziness.
Hang on, I'm sorry, I'm just checking the chat here. David Worley is asking, Geek and Door aren't mods. Oh no, I guess I haven't made them mods. I will do so at some point. Sorry, guys.
Improve your worth.
No. It's been said that I'm like the Oprah with these mod wrenches. It's like
you get a wrench. You get a wrench.
Look under your seat. So,
oh, thank you.
Yeah, I just I'd have to pull up this interview on the actual YouTube on my computer in order to do that, because it doesn't allow you to do that with the app. So I'll have to look at that at some point and add some more people. Because pretty soon everyone in my chat's going to be blue.
Just an ocean of wrenches.
Yeah.
You're a dedicated king. Okay, I don't want you to take offense to it. It's like a gay. It's not even a gay. It's like an internet culture thing. Everyone's been calling each other queens recently. So
I'm never. It is extremely hard to offend me.
You're a generous queen.
Let me just polish my crown a little bit here. No, I you know what, for me, being offended is, I mean, there's legitimate times to be offended for things, obviously, but
yeah,
it's tough. I mean, I get more offended when somebody says something derogatory to somebody that I care about, and I go kick the person in the fucking balls or whatever. Make it great. Like, so.
I like your thinking.
You can call me whatever you want. I don't give a shit, right?
You triggered snowflake.
Yeah, I know. but attack people that I care about, right? You know, I mean, I'll say something usually. So, or do something.
I'm kind of the mindset it's like individual, right? So yeah. I try to be diplomatic about it. If I feel like I'm on a neutral level with you, I don't want to make a exchange negative, right? Unless I feel like you've already done that, bitch. And then to me, it's like fair game, right? I'm a come for you, and I don't care really. But it's also like there's caveats to that, right? Things like that only happen on the internet. Like I've never have issues like that in the real world, because it's like I'm not here to cause you issues. You're not jumping into my conversation in the middle of my conversation on the bus or something, or yelling at me about some stupid shit because I said something you don't agree with. Like,
it's easier to do that online.
But to me, like, I'm a trans person, and I've been out as a LGBT person. I was a gay person before I was trans. I didn't even know what trans was, so it was the only option. But I was so tranny, but even when I was a gay person. And tranny is a derogatory word. Sorry if that offended anyone. We've come full circle, right?
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't recommend using that.
It kind of fits though. So the word tranny actually originates from drag queen culture. Trannies are drag queens, so you can actually call it. And I was such a cross-dresser. I was essentially a tranny. Like at that stage, I was a fucking queen, honey. So like from a very young age, I've grown up in the fucking ghetto. So it's like I'm not growing up in some nice, like, to-do fucking place where we're all being fucking... I'm growing up in places where we're like giving blowjobs to people in hot tubs and shit. Like, we're not doing it. It's not like literally, like, most of my memories with my friends is us all just sitting on the wall smoking weed, thinking about how we're going to do stuff with no money.
Sorry, can hold up just a second. What was the address of that place that gives blowjobs in hot tubs? It was an experience. It wasn't my experience. It was a experience. I was like present. Let's say I wasn't engaged in. I wasn't. Right. And I wasn't sat in a like seedy corner watching people get blowjobs in hot tubs either. with popcorn.
Yeah, cucking people. That wasn't, no. I was just like there getting drunk somewhere thinking, what the fuck's going on over there? And also, we never had a friend that had money to have a hot tub. So what do you do when you have a friend that has a hot tub? You have sex in the hot tub.
This might be my only time.
Right? We're not living lavish. Well, if we want to have sex in a hot tub, we go to like a river or something and try to simulate it.
Bring heat stones with you. I by the way, guys, I don't recommend having sex underwater because
no.
It can form a vacuum seal, and that gets pretty fucking painful. So.
Yeah. It's just not, water isn't a lubricant. It's just no. It's not. It doesn't work. Just take it from a professional, okay? I didn't know chemistry. I just tried that shit. It just doesn't work, and it wasn't in a river either.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend it.
So yeah, growing up from a young age and always having zero fucks to give and being an out person from the moment I knew I was a out person. Like I knew I was some form of gay. I just like I grew up in a really hostile world, in a hostile environment. It wasn't a really good place for young people, children to be. So one of the benefits you get from living in such a hostile environment is you have no fucks to give about like stuff like insults and shit. Like if it comes from someone you care about, that's a different scenario, right? But I guess that's why I swear so much. I don't think like I'm going to actually offend people because to me this is just a conversation from my experience. But, you know, the internet connects people with so many different experiences that you often are hurting someone. But I'm also like, maybe it's hurting you a little bit right now, but maybe you'll have thicker skin next time. So when you come across someone using the word tranny, I'm a trans woman, I'm a transsexual woman. So it's not like it's like the same way a gay person might use the term faggot, right?
Sure.
It's not. It's like taking ownage over that word, and it's maybe the next time you hear it, you'll be less sensitive to the word because I remember when I started transitioning. I think that's why I use it so much now. Is the word used to really upset me and offend me because I've always been like an out, open gay person advocating shit. So it's like. I know the roots of calling someone a tranny. You're calling me a tranny because you're trying to say I'm a man dressed as a woman because I'm a drag queen or something of that nature. And that's why it used to really offend me. but fucking drag queens slay better than me anyway. So I'm at this point. Like, oh, thank you, bitch. I'll call myself a tranny at this point. It's not an insult. You're just trying to degrade both groups. You're trying to say people that want to enjoy themselves, express themselves in however flamboyant, crazy fucking way that is. You want to deride them by comparing them to us, and you're trying to deride us by comparing us to them because you don't like any of us. You're not calling us a tranny because, oh, you think we're trying to appropriate tranny culture or some shit. You just don't like either of us, but you know we're separate, and that's why you're using that word.
Yeah.
But I also don't think a lot of people do know it's separate. I knew it's separate because I was like an out trans person from a young age. Well, out gay, trans, all that shit. So I knew that, but really people don't know that, right? People think tranny is like a cool fucking hip fucking fun way to say trans person. And that's just because tran is in it. It's like...
No. Coming from the automotive industry, every time someone said tranny, I was usually thinking transmission. So that's something different.
So you've handled a lot of trannies in your time?
Not me personally, not even actual transmissions, but I have sold a few bits and pieces to repair them.
Is that legal? Is it legal to sell trannies? I'm not quite sure that's legal.
Well, no, not in the way you're thinking about it there. If we're talking car parts, it's fine.
Yes. But like I watch so many trans women who don't really make trans related content. A lot of them make beauty content, and some of them just do random fucking shit. But almost all of the people I watch aren't sensitive people. And like, I don't hate Riley Dennis. I don't necessarily have a problem with Riley Dennis. I kind of just disagree with a lot of what Riley Dennis says. But if you know who that is, it's a trans YouTuber here, trans woman. And she has some ideas and I don't agree with them. And that's it. And that's not and there are a lot of trans people like that. Like ContraPoints is another one. She's not like that. She's another bitch that's just out here saying the slurs because it's fun. That's it. It's just fucking fun. It's not doing it to deride someone. Words have context as well, right? Like if you're a trans person and you would never hear me call another trans person a tranny. Like, I'm always referring to myself as a tranny or using it as a title for a video. But the only other trans person I've ever worked with on YouTube participated in a live stream called Tranny Wars that we got from Jerry Springer's #inspiration, #life goals. I used to love that, but I kind of hated it because it put me off of transitioning and all that kind of stuff for so long because I would watch these trans women on Jerry Springer and I'm like, oh my fucking God, what is this? Not even about them as women. I just want to clarify about them fucking ripping each other's weaves off and shit and fucking stealing everyone's man and shit. It's just not a very good representation. Still fun. And it's still, I guess it's real. So it don't matter about...
It's like a train wreck. You can't help but watch it.
Exactly. But it's not even just the trannies on Jerry Springer. It's everyone. There's not one person that goes on Jerry Springer that isn't a train wreck.
Yeah, that's true. Is that even still a thing? Like, is Jerry Springer even still doing shows? Because I don't think I've paid much attention for years now.
If he isn't, you've let the trans community down, Jerry. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I look at it this way too. I mean, you talk about like the trans community. They're just like the atheist community. Really, the only thing you guys have in common is that you're all trans, and other things that surround it make you all individuals, and you're all going to have different beliefs and different ideas and different whatever. Just like the atheist community, we all share the non-belief in gods, but we're all different regardless.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I kind of had to learn that lesson twice in my life. So yay, me winning. But I remember when I was about 17, maybe, I was living in a homeless shelter, and I thought, like, I just want to meet some more gays. Like, that was just the thing. I want to meet some more people, LGBT people, go to Pride with, do socializing, and just not really feel the judgment that I might have felt with other people. And I went for like 2 weeks and then went to gay pride because we all snuck alcohol and it was lit, but as the kids say today. But yeah, even in that time, I didn't enjoy the experience because they were all lovely people, I guess. But the only thing, you're all just trans. And it's like, so fucking what? It's like, I had this idea I was going, yeah, I did. I was an idiot, remember? So yeah, I did. I was going there thinking, I'm going to find people that, like, we're going to share so much in common. I'm going to become really good fucking friends with these people. And it wasn't. And it's when I actually met them, I realized there's so much that we don't share in common, that the trans thing is just so, like, I don't feel the need to, like, socialize with people as a part of a community, right? I am a trans person, so I'm inherently a part of that kind of community system, but I don't actually socialize and take part in it. I'll advocate for my own rights and people like me and other people that deserve rights, but I just think we're people. And I had to learn that lesson again when it comes to atheism quite recently. Oh, my channel's been just the most fun place to be as of late. And yeah, I guess it was worse now because we're all mature at this point. So it's like, oh God, you don't even have the excuse that you were young and dumb, right? You just thought, I thought, it wasn't that I thought because we're all atheists, we're going to get along. I knew that wasn't the case from the start. I just thought that because I thought we all shared this, we clearly don't. Not dropping names, you little bitch, but we clearly don't share this. But I thought everyone in this community shared a level of skepticism, right? That when we address something, we're going to be skeptical about it. So at least in that sense, we'll be able to come to a shared conclusion. Our opinions on the conclusion might be different, but we can both say as something is the case, right? And really, it's not. It's just it's not a belief system, but a lot of people that engage in the community side of it are kind of still engaging in the religious side of community, and they're still replacing what they would go to church for, but with, I don't know, SpaceX launches or something.
You mean you mean they're using the community like they would have in a religious community?
Yeah, essentially, it's like they form, not everyone, of course. This is just a generalized thing from my own experience. But from the people I know and I've met, it's like a tribe of groups. And if you start to deviate from the tribe's position, or you start to question other tribe members, therefore going in to question the integrity of the group, you still behave essentially the same as religious people without using religious justification for it. You'll just gang up and use some other irrational thing, like, oh, they said something mean, or I don't know, I'm not stupid like that. But
well, I mean, obviously we're all going to view things differently, and some people might find something objectionable where others may not. It just depends on the individual. And I never, ever, even joining this atheist community, people have come and gone already, but I never expected anyone, whole group of us to be this one big loving, huggy family. But I generally let people handle their own issues, and if I can be of help, I will. But you know, I mean, we're all different.
Like normal, right? Well, what I don't understand is when my friends, no matter where they are, friends, I'm using that term loosely, but when my people I know, wherever they are having some kind of disagreements, but unless it's something I morally cannot support that person doing or thinking, like something egregious to me, then I'm not getting involved. I'm not saying anything. I'm not putting, because why am I going to behave like that? It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel right. It just feels like you shouldn't involve yourself in other people's situations, because you're kind of just complicating a situation that doesn't need
It's
to be
possible.
complicated. Some
Well,
people
I try to let them figure it out first, and because I don't want to end up with now both these groups of people are individuals not talking to me. Because I'm about being friends with people, not.
but I just assumed that more atheists would be like that. Would be the whole, yeah, this isn't my business. This is their business. Let them deal with their business. But instead,
if they reach out to me, I'll do what I can. But that's about it.
Instead, it's like, oh, let's just. It's like when someone in a church, right, does something the rest of the church mates don't agree with. I don't know if that's the name of them, but the rest of the congregation, or whatever the fucking name is of people that go to church.
Congregation works.
Okay. It's like when one of them does something that is not agreed upon by the religion or the group or something, and then they get ostracized from their social group. And that still seems to me what happens within the atheist community.
Yeah,
it's like you ostracize people from your social group, but you don't even have the like stupid belief backup, like, oh my God, but God said that's a really bad thing. Like, you don't even believe in God, so you don't even have that fairy tale bullshit to support you.
Well, it's true. I think it's hard to do when there's such a diverse group of people that are under one umbrella, yet that's really the only thing that they have is the umbrella, and everything else around it is can be quite varied and different, right down to core opinions on things. So it's a tough thing to work through.
I don't like the people trying to manipulate atheism as a way of supporting an ideology as well, as like liberalism or Republicans, being liberal or Republican or some shit. Because it's just like, you don't need to. That's not that's not something that's necessary. Of course, every group is going to splinter off and diverge at some point and create smaller, very more specific groups. But I just feel like when you're using something that just isn't a religious thing, right, to support, when you're using something that just isn't a political thing, outside of having laws that justify certain things because of a religion, I feel like you're just harming the message of atheism. It comes across more as a ploy for a religious system, for a political system, rather than you've seen a reason out of it. It's like, oh, yeah, of course they're an atheist, they're liberal. And it's like, or of course they're an atheist. Yeah, it doesn't hold up, but neither does God. But people still hold these stupid thoughts.
Sure, they do.
So I just feel like if you're trying to use atheism as a ploy to push forth political agendas, to me, that you're just fuck you.
Well, well, when you're talking about atheism in and of itself, I mean, atheism is really just a position on the existence of gods and has nothing to do with any other thing. Everything else is brought in by the individuals who call themselves atheists, and they bring all this other baggage in to tag onto it, which I don't understand. But that's just how some people do it. I mean, we're all different people. We handle shit differently.
Like, I don't think we have to inherently keep politics and religion separate, because, like, or lack of religion and beliefs separate, because you communicate with people you resonate with, right? There's a reason you have preachers and pastors speaking for their party and stuff in places
Sure.
because people resonate with them. So it makes sense in some extents. But if it's not just your opinion, this is just how you feel, and it's heavily influenced by your ideology, but you're purposely trying to use an ideology to further a separate individual ideology.
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me is just a bit of a dick move.
You know, it's funny because sometimes it can work, but I find most of the time it doesn't, and it can cause friction. So I try to sort of.
I'm used to friction. Hi, my name's Demi. Nice to meet you.
Well, Demi, we're closing in on the hour. Is there anything else you wanted to go over before we shut this one down? And I didn't even ask you. Are you up for an after party for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'll check if I have some vodka and something to mix with vodka. And, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good to me because I'll run downstairs to my buddy Mikey's and grab some of my beer out of his fridge.
Why?
Because my coffee's empty. Well, it's just there's no room in my fridge, and I went down there after jam last night, and I still had like 12 left in my case, so I threw them in his fridge and drank a few there, and there's a bunch left. So, and we just don't have the room here because my roommate went crazy cooking and baking stuff. So. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's like silver lining, though, right?
Exactly. That's the way I look at it, for sure. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we switch over?
Not really. Religion's bullshit. I had a lot of it, and I know a lot of them are bullshit, in my opinion. And being a trans person's hard. It gets a bit easier, and you become more resilient to just things that they're not necessarily done to harm you or other trans people. They're just done in jest, and it's just a bit sensitive for you right now, but you might get over that at some point.
A lot of people that aren't actually intending to upset or demean anybody say stupid things because they're ignorant of some of the stuff involved with trans community. So they might say something not realizing that it could be offensive too, which happens. It's like the gender pronoun or and stuff like that, where people might accidentally call someone a him instead of a her, or whatever pronouns they're preferring. They might actually screw up, and it happens. And it's never. I don't think. Well, for most people, when they're just talking and they're not like malicious people, they're not intending anything bad by it. They just screwed up and said, mispronounced it or whatever.
The thing is, transphobic people haven't had enough time to really narrow down the subtlety of being transphobic. So normally when someone is maliciously misgendering you, it's overtly obvious. Like it's quite clear. Because normally they're corrected and they will continue because they're purposefully trying to piss you off.
Yeah,
I got over that a long time ago because it's like your pronouns at the end of the day don't make me feel more or less validated, because like people that respect me and care about me will respect what I wish to have, and people that don't, I don't give a fuck for. And that's it.
Yeah, you don't need them around anyway, so who cares what they think? Well, Demi, thank you very much for for joining me this afternoon. I'm glad we worked out a time because I know it's a lot later there than it is here. We've got an 8-hour difference. So, so normally I do these at like 6 p.m. my time, and that would be like stupid o'clock where you are. So
yeah, it's 10 o'clock now. Is it 10 o'clock now? I think so.
2 here. So yeah, it's 8 hours. So 10 would be correct.
Look at you, math genius.
No, I'm aware of these things because I have to schedule these sort of things. So. I always have to be cognizant.
Schedule. What's that?
Sorry. Let me try the Queen's English. Schedule these things.
I wasn't even making that joke, but it was a good one.
Yes, people, there are 2 ways to pronounce that word. Schedule and schedule.
The more you know.
Yeah, we need that little thing to flash across the screen now. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in and hanging out with us and hearing the stories. I hope you guys enjoyed them, as I did, and I hope you enjoyed chatting with me today, Demi.
I did. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. And we'll be doing an after party shortly, so if you are interested in coming and hanging out, let me know. and I will post some links for whoever would like to join. Once again, guys, you know what I always say at the ends of these things, they call it faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.